Chairman of the West Newbury Republican Town Committee, and on behalf of Georgetown, Groveland, West Newbury, and Newbury, we'd like to welcome you to this candidates night. I'd also like to introduce my fellow chairs and co-sponsoring this, Ian Tantino from Georgetown, and Linda Allen from Newbury. So this is a really great turnout. We really appreciate you guys coming out. It's kind of a dreary February night with all of the rain and minutes out there. Thanks. This is a huge encouragement to us who have to plan these things. We do spend a little bit of time. This doesn't just happen. And so when we get this type of a turnout, it encourages us to do actually more things. So thank you very much. I kind of think of Republicans that come out on homecoming morning nights as the resistance, right? You guys are the tip of the spear, the activists, the people that really are motivated to make change in the state of Massachusetts. And as you know, we're kind of outnumbered a little bit here as far as the Democrats go. And after 7 years of Barack Obama, guess what? We've got a pretty big election coming up in the fall. And so we need to gather people and get them energized, and this is a great way of doing it. One of the most important things, I guess, that the state, the Republican town committees do is energize their own towns and get events going. But behind that is a state committee. And tonight we're going to learn about the state committee. We're going to meet some candidates and end up having a little bit of not so much of a debate, but we're going to run through a question and answer period where they're going to speak for 5 minutes or so, and then at the end of that, you all get to ask questions. And we'll do that for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll follow that up with, we're going to hear from a couple of state reps, give us a little idea what's going on Beacon Hill. But so to kick the meeting off, first I want to introduce Chris Lane. Chris is an Endicott College graduate. He's worked as a deputy campaign manager and as a sheriff's aide. He also interned for the Richard Tassay campaign. Is that correct?
That's it.
He's also a campaign aide for Michael Sullivan's Senate race. He recently held the field director's position within the Mass GOP and is currently its political director. And he's going to enlighten us about the Mass State Committee and give us some idea of what's going on in the state right now. So this is Chris Lane.
First off, I just want to say what an awesome turnout this is. I've been to literally hundreds of RTC meetings, and this is a great turnout, and it shows what great candidates you guys have up here and how enthused you are about the GOP, so we really appreciate that. Representative Mirra called me a few weeks ago to ask me to come up and kind of just go over a few different things. What the state party's up to, the strides we've made, where we've been, where we're going, and just the general role of state committee people. As an employee of the party, I'm not allowed to engage in these races in any way, so I won't be making any comments about any of the candidates, who they are, their positions, or anything like that. This is more of a general overview of what the role is and what we do at the state party on a day-to-day basis. So the document I just handed out, I know probably everyone didn't have one. There's a bigger crowd than I was expecting. Is what we call the Mass GOP Toolbox. And what this document does, it kind of lays out for candidates and town committees what exactly the party does and what we don't do. So first kind of want to just go over the political section of this box because it's kind of my job on a day-to-day. I've been political director for 1.5 years now. Thank you for the introduction. I took over this role in August of 2014 and have loved every second of it. We've made incredible strides at the party. I'm really proud of. Nothing's perfect, but we're getting there. And so I just kind of want to kick off what the party's done in the last few years and how it's helped us since then. In 2010, Charlie Baker ran for governor, and one of his biggest takeaways that year was that we weren't nearly as organized, didn't have as good a data, and there was not a consolidated campaign effort across the Republican brand. So those were the 3 goals heading into 2014. Have a consolidated campaign where we're all sharing data, build a database that is capable of handling that, and getting everybody on the same page. So Charlie, between 2010 and 2014, used his own personal time and effort raising the money to build the database that we call Pinpoint, which is the third bullet down here. Pinpoint is an incredible data system that allows us to target voters and pinpoint voters based on how they've interacted with us over the last 15 years, 16 years now. We know every person's election history since the year 2000. We know how they've been registered. We know what ballot they pull in primaries. And we use that information to know exactly who to call, who to send mail to, who to do email blast to, and so on and so forth. Everything we do is extremely on purpose now. Politics used to be a lot of guessing and checking, and then living with the result after the fact. Now, everything's very calculated and very on purpose. So, I use Jackie Corbett for an example. She just finished a primary race up in Peabody. She said, okay, who do I need to target for this race? Republican primary voters, people who will take a Republican ballot. She was able to use the database and other information at her disposal to make those kind of decisions. Charlie Baker in 2014, same exact thing. All of our reps in 2014, same exact thing. My bad. So, going from there, we used all those resources in 2015 as well for municipal candidates. In total, we helped 119 different municipal candidates in 2015, for school committee, selectmen, up and down. I'm told that that had never happened before at the state party level. Of those 119, I think we were involved in 63 different races, winning races, excuse me. So we're already starting to build that farm team we've been hearing about for years. Who's going to be the guy that steps up to run a year from now? And the same kind of goes true for state committee members. State committee members have all this information at their disposal as well. They know who in their district votes, they know who in their district's Republicans, and they can use that information to help build town committees. So that's probably role number one of the state committee person, is helping build their RTCs. Role number two is helping recruit candidates. 2016 is going to be a very difficult year for us, for a presidential year. We need to be very careful about how we pick and choose our target seats. There's only so much money and so many resources to go around, and we need to defend our people first, and then use our data, information, polling, to make good decisions about where we invest next. Another thing on here is called coordinated mailing. So, what's that?
Sorry, we were battling. Sorry about that.
No worries. I thought it was a question.
No, my
He's louder than me.
sorry.
So the party has what we call a nonprofit mailing permit. That allows us to send mail at a significantly discounted rate than if you walked into a mail vendor and do it. Instead of paying 25 cents per piece, we pay about 15 cents per piece. We can do this with our candidates called coordinated campaign services. And over a course of a state rep race or a state senate race, it can save thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. The only people who have access to a nonprofit mailing permit and the data that we get from the Secretary of State's office are the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and for now, the United Independent Party, because Evan Felcher reached that threshold in 2014. So when people ask me what's the value in running as a Republican versus unaffiliated, those are the two biggest things that I turn to: the data and the nonprofit mailing permit. Goes along with that, volunteer list. We provide our candidates with every volunteer that Charlie and Karen had in 2014 in the entire Mass Victory program. And then the coordinated dial systems. We have hundreds of laptops left over from the Baker campaign that we've distributed to those 119 municipal candidates I was talking about last year. They're being utilized in both special elections in Peabody and Fitchburg right now. The great thing about this service is it is free of charge to our candidates. We pay for the service, we pay for the minutes, and they're able to reach so many more voters rather than picking up a phone and dialing by hand. Other services of the party, ICYMI and WTAS stand for In Case You Missed It, and What Are They Saying services. So one of the hardest parts about having 351 cities and towns and not being really organized by county is it's really hard for our staff to be constantly aware of everything that you guys are up to, that town committees are up to. So if you have any story anything that you're involved in the community, that you had a bake sale, that you had a tent at a local carnival, tell us about it. We will pitch it to the local media, we'll do email blasts about it, we'll tweet it out, we'll put it on our Facebook. That constant flow of communication is really important to us. I've seen campaigns that communicate with us a lot, and it's gone really, really well, and then I've seen other campaigns that don't, and it doesn't flow as well. So I encourage you guys, let us know what your town committees are up to, and we can be helpful on that front. Other ways we can be helpful. Finance. Campaigns can't be run without money. Donor starting lists are really important. I highly encourage you to use the OCPF website. Massachusetts requires every donation to be logged on there. If you're looking for donors within your town, all you have to do is go in and type in your town, and look for any Republican cause on there, whether it's Charlie or Karen or an RTC or the state party. There are people out there, and if you're looking to build warm leads, that's a great place to start. Surrogate coordination. So the other kind of job of the party is to help facilitate events for the governor and lieutenant governor. If you guys have an event that you think you would like the governor and lieutenant governor to attend, tell us about it. Tell us when it is, who's going to be there, how many people, why do you think it's important for them to be there. And we can be very helpful in facilitating that. There are major conferences, major get-togethers that we didn't know about in 2014, or we didn't know about in 2015. Let us know about it. The schedulers do an incredible job of taking hundreds, if not thousands of requests per week, per month, whatever it ends up being, and trying to get everyone. I have access to the governor's calendar. It is crazy what our governor does on a daily basis. 18-hour days, 20-hour days, whatever he can do, how many people he can accommodate, he does it. And as the lieutenant governor is the same exact way. Quick example, we have 2 special elections going on right now. The governor is going to be in Fitchburg for that special on Saturday. He's going to be in Peabody for that special on Sunday. He's giving up his weekend and his time because he cares about this party, cares about growing this party. And I think that's a kind of a message that gets lost, is how much he cares about being a Republican. And we're very grateful for that at the party because it helps us facilitate everything that we want to do. I guess at this point, one of my biggest problems is that I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect between the state party and town committees, and I felt the same way before I joined the party. So I worked very hard over the last couple of years to try to break down that wall of like 350 towns. So I would love to answer any questions, what the party's up to, what we see happening in the future, and kind of leave it up to you guys to facilitate the conversation.
Chris, I'll throw something out there. I mean, as an activist and as a chair of a local town committee, I know that one of the biggest issues was, from the beginning, was getting, when we had local candidates that wanted to run, I don't care if it was school committee, city council, selectmen races, we would go and be very hard to find any level of coordination within the state party on something on the local level. So as you talk to people who want to run for local offices, I can tell you that in all the years I've been working on some campaigns, the last 10 years, the last 2 years in this past municipal election cycle, the state party has been unbelievably responsive in providing data, information, coordinated efforts, helping with everything that we've needed for a bunch of municipal candidates. And we've had one of our largest municipal victories in the last year that we've had in a very long time. So that's directly related to the efforts that you're talking about. So is it fair to say, for those that do want to step up and run on a municipal level, that the state party will continue to be as responsive as they've been this past cycle? Going forward, does the party plan to do that based on our success?
Absolutely. And if anything, I think we'll get better. I mean, last municipal cycle was the first time we truly had been through it. And all of these tools that are available to our state reps and state senators are available at the municipal level effort. All those laptops, all that data, the nonprofit mailing permit is all available no matter what level of office you're running for. That farm team is so important to us. And just to speak a little bit more to that, in 2014 we had the Mass Victory Program that supported candidates from the top and the bottom. That being said, In 2016, Governor Baker won't be on the ballot. So our Mass Victory program is going to have a lot more time and resources to focus on state rep and state Senate races. And I think our representatives and senators will be a huge beneficiary of that because the Mass Victory program will be more geared around them than it was in prior years. And I think that will be true for municipal candidates as well. Yes, sir.
Jeff, you are both waiting members of the town committee. One of the things I've been trying to concentrate since I've been chairman is to try to get the towns that surround us to get them to work collectively as a group so that we can be in a position to be able to help support them while them support us and so on, so we can push the Republican message. It's been difficult because some of the committees are not in great shape, for lack of a better description. I spoke to General Binsley about it quite a bit, and hopefully we'll be able to work together to do that. But with the state party, what's the necessary approach?
So I guess I had two answers to that. One, we're excited about March 1st in the sense that RTC town member information is going to be completely updated, right? Everyone who's on the ballot at the reorganizational meeting for your town committees, we're now going to have completely fresh and new information. That isn't always the case with our town committees. Sometimes town committees don't update their roster or are even organized at all. So to be able to start fresh on March 1st or whenever that reorganizational meeting is for you guys, you're going to be working with better information. We're going to be working with better information. The other thing is, I'm a huge proponent of local town committees kind of consolidating together, whether it's by every quarter or whatever it is, because of the power of numbers. Most other states are strictly county parties. They don't even have town parties, so it's much easier to get a lot of people together and stay organized in that fashion. I'm not saying county parties is the answer, but I think stuff like this is super important to do. Whether that means just your chair and your vice chair get together with all of the other local vice chairs, or however you guys want to do it, but I see that power in working together. I see that power in maybe reaching out to the state party a little bit more, reaching out for lists, reaching out for fundraising advice. I mean, that's why we exist, right? We're here for candidates, we're here for our reps, and we're here for you guys.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Does the party have a candidate against Seth Moulton?
As of this moment, no, we don't have a candidate against Seth Moulton.
Why?
No one has volunteered to run.
And it's not just in Seth's district, there's plenty of other districts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2016 is a very difficult year to run. It's a presidential year. That doesn't mean we're not looking. It doesn't mean we're not recruiting. As of right now, no one has poll papers.
Frank Cousins.
Frank Cousins is retiring.
From his present job.
Correct.
And he's got money in the bank, and he's got a wife,
If you want to make that big of a show, I am totally on board. But
not that we checked his OCPF or anything, but you know, valid point.
I hear you.
It's very disappointing.
Was that a surprise? Was his retirement a surprise or something that he planned over a year or so?
I don't want to speak for the sheriff. I'll let the sheriff.
No, I'm just saying, it should have been somebody that we were getting ready to help run for him.
I'll just tell you, for me, honestly, it was very much a surprise to me.
Thank you. That's all.
To me it was.
There are a number of people actually in this room who are considering running, so I don't know if there's an
As a
opportunity.
friend of Frank's, I was very surprised.
Yes.
Okay, I was surprised as well when I heard tonight.
Very surprised.
But Lenny here and Jim Lyons are here. I mean, one of them can run for Congress. They're welcome. I'm just throwing that out there.
Lenny, I support you.
I know, we wouldn't know.
Okay, if that's you guys, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to answer questions if you had any. I'm grateful to be here. And I just want to introduce Ann, who's the chairman of the Groveland, Georgetown RTC.
Okay, I'd like to introduce our candidates for the night. Thank you so much. This is a great turnout. I'm really happy to see everybody here. First, I'll introduce I'll go by this order. Lonnie Brennan from Georgetown. As I introduce you, you can come to the front and then have a seat.
Wow, that sounds like man and wife, but it's been a time. Thank
He's
you.
the father of 3 children, 2 now out of college, very active in politics, is a former selectman, a founder of votecorevalues.org. He is the publisher of the Boston Broadside, a monthly magazine covering Massachusetts politics. Let's hear it for Lonnie. This wasn't deliberate, was it?
Not me.
Lonnie, stop knocking my name tag over.
What I-
Come on. Oh, whatever. All right, swap them around.
Next, we have Angela Briac of Boxford, married to husband Bill for 33 years, who ran for Congress in 2010 against John Tierney. She has lived in Boxford for 30 years and raising a son and a daughter. Involved in Republican politics for many years, helping State Representative Jim Lyons and Lenny Mirra get elected, and with a yes on one ballot question. Let's hear it for Angela. Next we have Luke Noble from Gloucester. Grew up in Rockport, one of 6 kids. He has 2 children, Olivia and Emily. He's a passionate grassroots activist, having worked for Republican candidates since high school. After college, started working at a financial firm and opened his own practice in 2009. He employs 7 people and has to deal with the daily bureaucracy created by Democrats. Luke has always worked hard for all candidates, regardless of what side of the political spectrum within the Republican Party they are.
Absolutely.
Let's hear it for Luke. Now we have Janet Vincey from North Reading. Janet Vincey has lived in North Reading for 25 years with her husband, Chris. After receiving her degree in medical technology, she moved to Massachusetts in 1980 from Concord, New Hampshire, where she grew up. She served as a senior transfusion service technologist at Melrose Wickliffe Hospital for 28 years. Janet's been actively involved with the school and youth sports as a coach and board member of youth soccer. She's currently a full-time volunteer with the American Cancer Society as a Road to Recovery coordinator. Let's hear it for Janet. So, welcome all. Make yourselves comfortable. First, we will be hearing from Janet tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to stand. Can everyone hear me? It's so loud over in this corner. I can hear you. I'm trying to know where to speak from. Welcome, everyone. The last time I was here in Georgetown Country Club, actually the last one, I was playing golf out there, so 2 years ago. I didn't play that well that day, but it's a great club, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Linda, for hosting this. And thank you to the candidates for being here, and also all of you, the voters of First Essex and Middlesex. My name is Janet Vincey. I am running for the State Committeewoman. I live in North Reading and have, again, for 25 years. I've been married to my husband for 25 years. This past June, we have 2 children. Gabrielle is 30. She is married and I have my first grandson, 2-year-old grandson, Harlan. My son, Kyle, is 21. He's a sophomore at DePaul University in Chicago, where he's a student athlete. And he plays golf for them, and he just got word yesterday that after pulling and pushing, he's going to finally travel with the team to Arizona to play in his first golf tournament. So, very excited about that. That was a good news thing this week for me. I was at a party, a Christmas party, and by the way, Happy New Year to everyone. It's not too late to say that. I was at a Christmas party this year. A friend of mine has an annual brunch for everyone on a Sunday. And I met this woman who I'd never met before, it's a friend of hers, and she introduced me, and she said, oh, Janet's running for a state committee position member. And this woman looked at me like, what is a state committee? So I tried to explain to her what state committee was, and I went through my whole spiel. You know, you help to get people elected, whether it be local, municipal, state, she's like, okay, but, you know, why are you doing this? And I said, well, because I want to help the governor, you know, Charlie Baker. I want to help Lieutenant Governor Polito. They're the leaders of our party. And so she's like, well, why are you doing it? So I went through this whole thing, the whole outline of what it was. And I was getting very aggravated with her. I was very, very frustrated. I'm like, what does she want me to say, you know? So finally I just looked at her and I said, what are you getting at? She said, why are you doing this? And I said, because I'm going to make a difference. And she said, that's what I wanted to hear from you. And I said, all right, why didn't you tell me that? I was like, I went through this whole exercise. So she basically said to me then, what is your passion? And immediately I said, my family. Of course, my family is my passion. And I'm sure all you people here feel the same way. The candidates all feel the same way. We have that passion. But I decided at that point, as I'm going through this campaign, I needed to figure out really what campaigning for a state committee position was. So I believe truly that it's paramount that we, as Republicans, speak about our party, not with just our words, because that's easy to do, right? Everyone tells you you should think this way, everyone thinks that you should vote this way, everyone's coming at you, especially right now during this presidential candidate race. And I decided I was going to put my words, not just words, but action. So as I've been campaigning, I've gone to many different areas of our district. 17 towns and cities is a lot to cover. And just 2 weeks ago, I paid a visit. I've been door knocking, I've been phone calling, I've been meeting people. And just 2 weeks ago, I paid a visit to Wilmington. I was told that there was a gentleman there that I needed to see. He's a Republican. Well, actually, he's an independent, but he's very active in the community, and is a selectman, and also he's a director of the Veterans Affairs there. So I called him up, I went to see him, he said, come on by, I sat down with him. I'm going to tell you, it was the best thing I did during this campaign. I got to sit and talk and listen to him, and I think that's what's important. Not that we talk and talk and talk, but that we listen, and that we listen to the people out there. We listen to the voters. We listen to what they're saying. We listen to our town committee people. We try to communicate their needs and their desires and their wants as, you know, to the Mass GOP, which is a big deal, communication, right? So I sat there for about a half an hour, 45 minutes with him. I went out and I said, this is why I'm doing this. Because I can go to them in the community, the people that are active, the selectmen, the local people, and school committee, and I can say to them, I'm listening to you, I hear you. And I can take it back to Rep. Lyons, I can take it back to Rep. Mirra in his district. I can speak about them. I was in Gloucester, went to a wonderful Valentine's Day lunch with the seniors there, 110 seniors. I got to talk to them. I met a woman who is 92 years old, and she is amazing, amazing. And she held my hand, and I talked about Senator Tarr, and they love Senator Tarr up there. Everyone in the district loves Senator Tarr. So I got to talk about Charlie Baker. I got to talk about the Republican Party. And in Gloucester, there are probably many more Democrats, but I'm still spreading the word, talking, being active. I think that's what we need to do. It's great to have our town committees sit around and we all gather together and we have a common purpose. But let's get out in the community. Let's do the work that Republicans, get our name out there, getting a positive face, talking about that, talking about our representatives. We're very fortunate to have in our district an extremely, extremely large Republican presence in elected officials. That's really huge. Bruce Tarr, Brad Hill, Lenny Mirra, Jim Lyons, Brad Jones. You know, could it get any better than that? I don't think so. So I'm happy and I'm very proud to have been endorsed by Governor Charlie Baker. He is the leader of the Commonwealth. He's the leader of our party. He's trusted me and has confidence in me to be able to do this job. And it is a job to do. And it's a hard job to do. And I talked to Luke about it, and he's the incumbent here, and he's really helped me understand what this job is all about. Karen Polito, I have the endorsement of our Senator, Bruce Tarr. I have the endorsement of Brad Hill, and I have the endorsement of our Minority Leader, Brad Jones. I'm very proud of these endorsements because I know that I earned the endorsement. I worked very hard as a Women for Charlie Regional Director, and that was a very grassroots-oriented women's group that just got the vote out for Charlie any way that we possibly could. And I'm proud of the work that I did for them and still will continue to do. So, on March 1st, I respectfully and humbly ask for your vote for me, Janet Vinci, for State Committee. And I do want to say one thing. There are 3 people here tonight that I already met. And they are not part of a town committee, and they're not part of the city committee. Their names are Chris, Kathy, and Katrina, and they're sitting right here in front of me. And these are the people that have enough interest to come out and listen to us. So I appreciate and thank you for being here, and I hope I can count on your vote on March 1st. Thank you so much. Thank
Next we'll hear from Angela Kuliak. Sorry, I tried to figure that out. The chairs are so long. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's fine. Just project it.
I know.
I've never seen it so crowded in the rest of this place.
Maybe people are wondering what's going on. I'm Angela Kuliak. I want to welcome everybody. It's so great to see so many faces that I remember when my husband ran for Congress in 2009, 2010, because it was like a 16-month time period. Thank you so much to Ann, Linda, and Scott for sponsoring this. I think this is a great idea, and it's just wonderful to see the turnout. I got involved with this mainly because I think grassroots are so important, and I don't think there's enough of grassroots. I remember being on the trail with Bill during that 2009-2010. And a lot of the cities and towns weren't even organized. Bill went around throughout the entire district, and that included the entire sixth district, trying to organize cities and towns and get people involved. And he was starting to run right before Scott Brown announced that he was going to run for Senate race. And actually, Scott used our office in Danvers. I'll never forget it. And the energy was absolutely incredible. So many people were involved. They were out there holding signs. There were rallies. I remember the weekend before the election, which Saturday was a gorgeous day. It was about 65 degrees and sunny. Of course, then Sunday it snowed, typical New England. But people were on highways and bridges, and the excitement was just absolutely incredible. And we haven't seen a lot of that since that time period. There's been some of it, with some of the elections, but not as much. And I really think it's important that we have more of that and get more people involved. People say, Angela, you go to everything, and I do go to a lot. I've been involved with, Jim Lyons' campaign, Lenny Mirra's campaign. I've been to events for, Brad Hill. I was very involved with collecting signatures for Yes on Run. I was out there like every weekend, because I thought that was so important. Here we had this ballot initiative, and I thought it was really important to get that, on the ballot. And I've been, as I say to people, I was born a Republican, and I really was born a Republican. My mother taught me, I think when I was about 5 years old, don't ever vote for a Democrat because they only believe in tax and spend. And it's no different today than it was 55 years ago. So, I'm really passionate about this. I'm not normally a public speaker. I'm not one to get up in front of a crowd and give a talk, but I am very passionate about what I believe in. And I would appreciate your vote on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Now we'll hear from Luke Noble.
So, hi everyone. My name is Luke Noble. I'm actually the only incumbent, I believe, up here. So I've served on the state committee for the last 4 years. First, I just want to thank Scott and Linda and Ann for putting all this together. They run an amazing group, and this was really just an awesome event and venue. And Chris, thank you for coming up and talking to us about what's going on at the state party. Jeff, I saw Jeff out here. Jeff is the chair of the North Reading Republican Town Committee. Works really, really hard for North Reading. And Missy, where are you? Missy Bank is over there in Boxford. Works really hard for Boxford, and her parents live in Gloucester, my hometown. So, I just, of course, love Missy for that. But You know, everyone, I think, a lot of you have met my 2 kids. They've been out on the campaign trail with me. I have 2 young girls. They're 5 and 3. And, you know, I can tell you for sure, because I know a lot of you are wondering this, my kids are absolutely Republicans. They know, because we've been in the grocery store, and this is a true story. My kids, whenever they start acting up or whining, I always say to them, stop whining, you sound like a Democrat. So, this is a true story. One day my sister calls me up, because I was with my nephew, and I happened to say it in front of him, because I have no shame. And she calls me and says, what are you telling my son? I'm like, what? She goes, he's at school telling everybody to stop complaining, they sound like Democrats. I'm like, well, listen, it's very, very important that they know that young, and that is very, very true. But like Angela had mentioned, you know, my grandmother was actually a lifelong Republican. She was really a lifelong Republican until the day she died, and then she started voting Democrat. But, but anyway, so I also just want to very, very quickly, I want to really thank, you know, Lonnie and Angela and Janet for stepping up and running as well. Running for state committee is a thankless job in so many ways. And in all seriousness, I mean, I love it. I am a very much involved person in politics and in campaigning. I do it because I'm passionate about it. You don't get paid for this. All of these people stepping up to do this right now are doing it out of pure passion, not for any other reason. And for that, you know, I think everybody here really deserves, you know, some thought from all of you and consideration for the vote around the simple idea that the reason we are all here is because we're passionate about building our Republican Party. I can tell you for the last 4 years as your incumbent, I've done some things really well, I've done some things not so well. And like everything in life, you learn from your mistakes and you move on. But I think anybody in here who knows me knows that I am very much a glass is half full type of person. I go into every single situation very positive. I look at every single problem very positively. When I sit with candidates to recruit them to run for office, whether it be on the municipal side, on the state side, whatever it might be, I always say with tremendous passion and sincerity that we can win this if we work together. And it isn't going to be easy, it's going to be hard, it's going to get difficult at times, but you're going to have somebody behind you really helping. And I always, always live up to what I say to somebody to the extent that when I tell somebody I'm going to help them, I will go out every single weekend, every single night when I come home from work. I will grab envelopes, push cards, and I will go door to door and I will pound the pavement with every single candidate that I can to try to get them elected. Because I believe firmly that if I'm going to say to somebody that the way you win is to go knock doors or to make phone calls or to raise money or to stuff envelopes, then I better be doing that with those candidates. It is very time consuming. I will tell you that I'm willing to do this for one more term, which is 4 years. Then I really think it's time for somebody else to step up and do it. I very respectfully ask for your vote on too many elections, on March 1st, which is next Tuesday, because I would like 4 more years to continue building on what we have built, to continue to work for the candidates that we've been working for. I believe so strongly, I have to tell you, that one of the reasons why I really wanted to commit to 4 more years, and I say commit, not just get elected to get elected, but really commit to it, because it's a big decision. It's not like once you get elected, you can sit on the state committee and do nothing. You have to be willing to go out there and work really, really hard for your candidates. And I take that very passionately. Because if it's a candidate that I'm getting behind, and I'll get behind, by the way, anybody on any end of the political spectrum. I don't care if you're a moderate Republican, a conservative Republican, or whatever Republican. If you are a Republican, I am going to help you in any way that I can. And I try to create energy around the room amongst other people to come out and help us. And when you have special elections, I get a car full of people, and I borrow my sister's minivan, and we load it up, and we go out and we knock doors for 2 days for Jeff Deal. Because he might be 2 hours away, but I pull everybody that I can from Cape Ann out there because I know that we want him to win. Because if Jeff Deal wins in a special election, although we can't vote for him, he can certainly make votes for us, right? So you have to be passionately involved. So I ask not just for a vote to get elected onto the state committee, again for 1 more term, but what I really want is to be able to work really, really hard for those candidates for 4 more years, for all those candidates that we're going to bring into the table. And what I'm most excited about, and I say this incredibly passionately and seriously, 2018 is going to be the best year this Republican Party has ever had. 2016, we will have some victories. In 2016, we have a lot of work to do, but I can promise you in 2018, it will be the best year this Republican Party has ever had. I hope I can be part of that victory, in 2018 with one more term from you. Thank you very much, and I humbly ask your vote on March 1st.
Now we'll hear from Lonnie Brennan.
I was enjoying sitting down and listening. So let me listen a little bit more, okay? How many Democrats do I get to welcome here this evening? Fantastic. Thank you. How many former Democrats? Aside from myself, how many former Democrats? I'm not really sure if I ever was a Democrat or not, but I do. I grew up in a, I explained this to the North Andover Town Committee meeting. I grew up in a Democratic household where you were Irish Catholic Democrat. That was your religion. When we walked inside, we had the top two floors. My grandparents were downstairs in Salem. And when you walked in the front door, there was Kennedy, the Pope, and Jesus. No distinction among the three, okay? The same reverence. How many unenrolled independents here today? Fantastic. The reason why I bring this up is because I love the numbers in the presentation of the Mass GOP. Way back when we had data vault, or voter vault, I'm sorry, now pinpoint, and moving towards a numeric type of sequence, and trying to be numeric and efficient at things. If you were to ask me right now when the North Reading Town Committee meets, I have no clue in the world. I know the Rockport meets this Saturday because we haven't seen that. For others, do they meet monthly? Do they meet regularly?
Third Tuesday of every month.
I'm sorry, what?
Third Tuesday of every month.
Thank you very much. And I feel bad that I have not gone out and reached you and asked you that simple question. But there's 17 cities and towns, and I think each of them need to be published in the local paper each and every month with a calendar that says, here's who we are, here's when we meet, and here's the contact information. I happen to own a small newspaper. It's tiny, only 10,000 copies. It'd be nice to start publishing something like that and working with you to do that. Whether I win or lose, the office out there. But what I wanted to say is that we welcomed a few independents here tonight and a few Democrats. And I grew up in a Democratic household, and I think I was disowned when I became a Republican when I started voting. But 89% of the people out there are not Republicans. And that's the conversation I want to have over the next 4 years is, why is it that it's only 11% of us? Why are the registered voters in Massachusetts, 89% of them have actively chosen not to join the Republican Party? We need to look at ourselves and have that conversation. Monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever. But that's something I'd like to focus on. The other thing I'd like to focus on is the numbers. This is a chart. I'll pass a few of these around. It's just a draft, and there's probably some errors on it. I'll grant you that. There's a few empty slots here for special elections. But you can probably see from where you are that it's mostly blue.
Yeah.
When Mr. Lyons and Mr. Mirra sit down, they're outnumbered 7-1 in their chambers. We have 134 seats. I mean, there's 134 Democrats to whatever the number of reps are that we currently have there. Without my glasses, without my memory, I'm not going to stand a chance, but 123 to 34. In the Senate, we're outnumbered 34-5. In Washington, the Washington-based seats, there's 11 of them, we have 0. Statewide, with the exception of the governor, we have 0, zip, nada. That's something we need to address because a lot of these candidates that are here in the blue, they have never had to utter the words, my opponent. It just hasn't happened. Some of the people that have won here have done absolutely spectacular. They were unique candidates. Mr. Mirra is extremely unique in that he was the only candidate to win. And he had to go through a primary process. 3 of you go through a primary process in order to do so. And it was a great thing in this area for the party. It was a tremendous thing having those debates. And thank you, Ann, for running them too. So I remember down the whole dairy form. Jim Lyons knocked off a long-term incumbent. Barbara Battalion, I hate to even say the words. Again, tremendous. 2012, 2010, life has been great. So what I wanted to try to help out with from the state committee, you ask, why does somebody run? We try to run to be effective, to try to help out. I'd like us to focus on the big picture, the air game. What is the Republican? What's the Republican doing? Do you see any ads on the TV about Republicans? Do you see any billboards any place? Do you see anything in the paper about Republicans? Do we have any concerted effort of having chairs and party members writing letters together or writing op-ed columns on a regular basis so people know? Because once they know, they're like, well, it's pretty cool. Look at what has happened having Trump and Cruz and Rubio And my favorite candidate was Huckabee. Sorry about that. You know, he was out real early. But I love the dialogue that he brought, and that's why I like. I know you're going to how can you like Huckabee? I love the dialogue and the presence that he brought to the stage. Maybe it's because he's a former pastor or whatever happened. But he spoke to the people. He spoke heartily. We have a great opportunity right now with Ted Cruz, with Donald Trump. There are people going to be voting this year who have never gotten involved in this before. It's going to be just like the Tea Party sweep that came through here. So I don't want to pass on 2016. I want to stuff the ballot with as many candidates as possible for 2016. I want to use that opportunity to build and to work with you. So that's my start. You know. Oh, I should say a little bit about myself. Sorry, I'm talking so much about the party. You said father of 3, 2 are out of college. Yay, thank you. One still in, she's studying nursing. I've been on the ballot 5 times. I ran for office 5 times. I won 3 times. I served 11 years in elected office. 2 terms in the school committee, City of Salem. That's 2 4-year terms for 8 years. And I swore off politics. I did my volunteer stuff. 10 years later, I found myself running for selectman. And I ran for selectman. And so I served 1 term as selectman, and partway into that term, I was so disgusted with my state rep from various meetings and stuff that I put myself on the ballot and went against the state rep. I lost. It was a Together We Can year or whatever it was. It was either Patrick or Obama. It was one of the other. I think it was
Hope and Change.
Yeah, Hope and Change. So I got smoked. I got 41% of the vote, and the best part about it running was I learned a lot at different levels, going from school committee to selectman, and then running for state rep and interacting with the state party and getting to meet people like Jim Lyons and getting his endorsement was just absolutely spectacular. So that's basically it. Aside from that, I'm a quiet, shy kind of guy. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to open it up to questions, and please be clear if you're asking one candidate or all candidates, whatever you have.
My name is Frank Bertolino. I'm from the Newbury Republicans Committee. I'm a veteran from the mid to early to mid 70s.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. We get up every day. I think most of us get up every day for our family and our freedom first and our country as well. We've just endured a terrible, horrible 7 years. What can you do, or what will you do to help us, a small town, very small percentage of Republicans, but there is a large percentage of intelligent people. What can you do to help us grow our Republican committee in small towns such as Newbury?
Well, so this is a start, right? So this is a start, getting people to know that there are actually other Republicans that exist. I think I started running a series of workshops a couple of years ago at the Kowloon. I would like to open back up again for the off years to get back into 2016 and 18. But I'll tell you that when Republicans start seeing that there are other Republicans around, it's almost like, wait a minute, you mean I can actually say that I'm a conservative and I'm a Republican? Not everybody's as willing to say that as all of us. So there are people that think conservative. Lonnie's bringing up a really good point. 11% registered Republicans, 89% are not identifying themselves, but we know out of those 89%, there's a huge chunk of them, sometimes even over 50%, that actually vote Republican. But they're afraid to go out there and say it. It's almost like saying, am I a mass murderer or am I a Republican? I'd rather say I'm a mass murderer. People are so afraid. We need to do something about that. We need to make it a little bit more accepting. We're great people. We have great families. We have values. We care. We want a good country and a good society, good education. Why can't we go out there and say to people proudly, you're right, I'm a Republican. And I think you should become a Republican too, and here's why. Or just show them by what we're doing why they might want to be attracted to us to become a Republican. So we have to make ourselves more aware. We need to do more in the community, have a lot more community involvement, and have a tremendous amount more interaction. And if we can do all of those things, I think we will, through the law of attraction, start building the party. At the end of the day, Democrats in action, Republicans in action. You want to be with Republicans, not Democrats.
I can also answer to you. So thank you for your service. We have a leader right now. His name is Charlie Baker. And a leader is someone who's a man. He's a man. He's not out in the park for a walk. He's actually having people that follow him. I've witnessed it myself with young Republicans. Charlie is listening to them. He's asking for their advice, the millennials. They are drawn to him because he's doing that. So that's one thing, starting with Charlie. The next thing is about the party, our town committees themselves. I'm totally with Luke on this. You need to get out into the community. I was in the Middleton Town Committee last night, and at the end of the meeting, one of the women looked at me and said, "What can you do to help us grow our," and I said, help me to help you, basically. Because Luke can't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone. None of these people can do it alone. We need you guys to help us do that. And a perfect example of that is happening in Gloucester. Amanda Kesterson is the head of the Gloucester Town, actually City Committee. And last Saturday night, that City Committee went to the open door and they served community meal there. And they were in media, and it was awesome. It's all over the media. It's in the newspaper. There's the city, committee, Republicans doing something in the community. They're going to places that maybe Republicans never have been, and that's what we need to do. And we need to do that as committee members, because we give face to our representatives, to Charlie, to Karen, everybody. We give that positive influence, and that's because actions do speak louder than words. So I am truly, truly a believer of that. So that's one thing I would do. Another example is in North Reading. I'm very proud of our town committee. We're not really that big, and people do get tired and understand that, but they're trying innovative ways. We have a scholarship for the high school students that we actually says the North Reading Republican Town Committee Scholarship, and it's presented at graduation, and then that recipient of that scholarship speaks at Flag Day and gives, because it's an essay that they have to write, and they speak. So that gets in the meeting. Those are the kinds of things we need to do. I mean, it's great to all get together and commune together in a room, and there's 10 of us or 5 of us or whatever it is, but if we want to attract more people, we need to attract the young, we need to attract the people that might be considering, and those things, but we need to do it by our actions and not just our words. Thank you.
I gotta jump up. It's about that big. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I've been down to Mass GOP. But in the fall, before they did the remodel, that was the size of the sign that said Mass GOP down at Merrimack Street in Boston. They're hidden in plain sight. That's the size, about approximately, I'm sorry, I copied my little pocket here, so I could be wrong. But that's approximately the size of the sign that was on the building for the past decade, which is next to the buzzer where you can buzz to go upstairs. We are hidden in plain sight there, spending a lot of money on the building. Our town committees, to their points, made it perfectly, I think anyway, are hidden in plain sight. People don't know about us. They don't know where we exist. There's something that we all go through phases of life of helping out and doing something. Sometimes you're baking and cooking, and sometimes you're out holding signs. A number of years back, our town committee was sitting around and saying, how can we get people involved? And I said, well, why don't you send out a simple postcard? We'll bring up V-Stuff print or whatever, do a postcard and send it out to all the registered voters in town. And then we sat around out in back of LW Bill's downtown here on the picnic tables one night and put stamps on all of them and chatted, and that was our meeting. And the next thing you know, we have a new chair, over here from that card. So little things do help. But to their point, serving in soup kitchens, all these things are wonderful, but there's not the publicity that goes along with them. It's not part of the overall. Now, if we were to get together and say, why don't 17 of us distribute groceries to the poor on the same day, 2 weeks before Easter? Why don't 351 of us do it the same day? Let's start thinking back about the air game that will affect the entire state. We came late to the table on Jeff Deal thing. Jeff won all his towns, but he lost Brockton in a big sort of way. Sorry for throwing into that, but what did we do for an air game to help him in Brockton? I'm going to say the past 10 years we haven't had an air game, and so he was going an uphill battle there. So I just thought I'd put that in, that we need to do this not to tomorrow, but today. And we need to start building it today. We need to start welcoming in the unenrolled and welcoming in the Democrats. They're looking for something. They're reaching for something. A lot of folks, you know, this is not Kennedy's party anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. You know, so that's all. You're the one who didn't say something. Come on, what are we going to do? I'm the quiet and shy one.
Oh,
The story I'm sticking to it.
I think I'm more quiet and shy than you.
Oh, there's something that might help you. I might be premature on this here, and it was the reason why I walked in at 7:02 as opposed to 6:45. On the back page of the Boston Broadside, a little plug, there's a picture of a number of speakers, Trevor Loudon and Donna Colorio from Common Core, and it's promoting a Restore America's Greatness Political Activist Conference and Expo, PACE. The contract on this is not signed with the hotel yet, and we're working with the major Boston media outlet to bring this, Jeff Cooner in the corner there, to bring this to closure, and that's what I was on the phone about this evening. If it happens, Republicans should be all over this. You know, the state party and all the committee parties and all, like signing here today, I didn't know until today that you were running for governor's council. You know, wonderful. You know, we need to be all over it at this event. I'm sponsoring, the Boston Broadside's sponsoring this event, but I'm this tiny. I'm the flea on a dog, okay? This is tiny little tough publication. I have no illusion about that. But if this major, Jeff Cooner, Boston media outlet signs on with this, it could be something significant in May, and it may be a good opportunity for all of us to share ideas, learn ideas, listen to some good speakers, and become more effective activists. Because some of us are outstanding. I mean, absolutely outstanding. And others of my, I'm serious, I really am shy. When it comes to going to a door, I usually connect with that person. I'm there for half an hour, you know, before I go to the next one. I don't know why, but I'm just not that kind of, whatever. So in any case,
Right.
think about it, I'll hand it around.
Do we have any other questions?
Go on,
Okay.
I'm sorry,
All right.
bad
Do
one.
we have anything out there? Go ahead.
Yes. More than a question, I think I have an ask. Because we don't know who we are, state party representative. So I think I'm going to have an ask. And I'll preface it with, I know Luke, so I know he's been to our meetings, and he's been to many meetings. And I'm sure you've done some committees as well at this point. When you're talking to them, you ever like you get these faces like they don't know what you're talking about. They don't know which direction to go and so on. I know that when we started out, we were trying to figure out what to do. So my ask is that whoever's going to be our representative, please develop a game plan so that when we go into the meeting and we talk to them, we can actually pull something out or show them us something that will give us incentive, that will encourage us, that will inspire us to say, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. Okay, because most town and city committees need direction. I was at Peabody's last night. Is it last night? Last night. Losing track of time. And they had a great meeting and great interaction. So they're moving along. But there were a lot of committees that started out just like we did, and we need some handhold. Many do. They need handhold. And your direction, we need that. All right. I know a bunch of years ago, Lisa and I, we went to boot camp. Does anybody know what the boot camp is?
It's training for the Republicans done by the South Shore.
Attleboro.
Attleboro.
Yes. That was, I still have that. And I still use it.
Sublets, right.
We need to get that going again. And so we need that. I think most committees need direction. And we look up to the party for that help. And things that you mentioned would be helpful, but we need that great interaction.
2016, regardless of who wins, because at the end of the day, we're all Republicans, we're all going to be working together. So that's what we do. So we will get together and we'll make it happen. But in 2016, a boot camp, no question about it, for the North Shore needs to happen again. to revitalize, revamp, and put some life support into these committees.
Jeff, I've already talked to Director Long about that, and he definitely wants to do that again, and spoke at length about doing that, so that will happen. I also think, to Chris Lane's point, now that we do have Governor Baker in there, and things that have just transpired since his election, it's getting better. Communication's going to get better. There's actual people dedicated to communication from the party, and that, you know, I would be the conduit between that and the town committees, and that helps. That helps a lot to be able to communicate.
And just to clarify something, the boot camps are great as they are, and that means people go to them. But it's you who need to come to us and do mini boot camps or something like that.
Not only that, but you need to see me all the time. And not just at that, but I need to be dragging you other places. And you need a playbook. And you also need a sharing book, if you will, that we'll all share together. It used to be that Senator Bruce Tyler would work with our committee. It's not his fault. No, he's wonderful and great. If we ask him, he does everything in the world. We used to run a fundraiser. Wait a second. Who played in the band?
Camp Dennison.
Down at Camp Dennison. That's right. I knew that. Sorry. I didn't, so the band would play. What's the name of the band?
We were the Over the Hill Gang.
The Over the Hill Gang. Okay. It's absolutely spectacular. And we do a fundraiser down there. It would be an auction. It's an auction and fundraiser and raffles. And my kids would do face painting of other little kids and things like that. So it was a wonderful, great event down there. We've kind of gotten away from it for a while. Committees I've found go through cycles. There were times when I would go every single month, and then there's times where I'm in Colorado, I'm here, I'm there with kids in school, you know, I'm all over the place. And God, that period, you know, comes and goes, you know, you love it when it happens. But we haven't done that, and that's something that if we wrote up the playbook of how easy it is to do this, well, everything involves work, I know. Wrote up the playbook and said, this is what one group did, this is what it took to do it. It might transplant very well someplace else because it brought big money to the committee to then be able to give it to candidates. And it was a nice thing. It was a nice thing when we irritated a particular candidate and bought signs for a guy that has no chance in the world of running. And he says, look, I'm going to run just so we can keep her occupied. It's sort of like a war strategy, like playing on game risk. I'm going to keep her occupied. I just need signs. If I can get a little bit of help with the signs, and we're like, let us buy the signs for you. You know, you get out there in the streets, you irritate her, we understand you're not going to win, but we'll focus all our real firepower here. And so that kind of strategy worked great. So I love the idea of having a playbook and having a sharing book and meeting constantly. And I think that the state committee person has to take on a very different role. It has to be, why aren't you meeting? Who are you meeting? How many people you have? How are you recruiting the people? What have you sent out for mailings? How can I help? What can I do? What can I publish? What can I get? And have to be with you. That's all right.
One more quick question, quick answers from.
This isn't actually a question. This is kind of like an observation from being chair for a long time. Kind of going with what my cousin Frankie just said a little while ago about growing the committee. People need motivation or a connection, and we are not getting that. Just as an example, well, let me back up for a second. Boxford has probably one of the highest percentages of registered Republicans, but they won't do anything. They won't hold signs. They won't come to meetings. They won't do anything. They'll write a check for you, but they won't do anything. So people need motivation. And I just want to show, just as an example, my kids and I did a food drive earlier this year for needy children in Lawrence, and a toy drive. The toy drive filled my entire living room with toys for these kids. We sent stuff out. People were dropping things off immediately. People were motivated. People wanted to help. We need to find a way to get people up and excited, and we're not doing that. Boxford was like, 90% Republican. We're still a high percentage of Republican, but it's dwindling. We've got to do something. And I'm not asking you guys right now to say this is what we should do.
The solution.
But
it's a Hillary Clinton pinata.
But seriously, it's just we need something to motivate people to get up. You know this. You did this for 100 years. We need something because it's not going to happen magically. And Charlie's wonderful, but
because what's been happening is the same thing over and over and over again. And you do need new ideas.
We do.
And
people want to help.
And people do want to help.
They do. They
so
want
let's
to.
get out there in the community and let's be seen. You're telling me that you had a wonderful experience with the toy drive.
Oh, it was amazing.
And it's amazing.
It was amazing.
And let's do that. I did a food drive with Rep Hill. He called me up and said, Janet, come do this with me. And we went out there. I had, Republican vest on, and I'm out there, and I'm meeting and greeting, and and let's do that. That's the kind of stuff we need to do.
We do. We just got to find a way. Right?
We can't continue to sit in a row. We can't continue to sit in a row.
Move on to the next phase of this evening. You can, hold your questions till the end maybe, but we want to let the representatives speak now. So I'd like to thank the candidates very much.
I'll stick around after, so if anyone has a question.
All right, thank you. Take it away to start.
So next up, we've got West Newbury Zone and your state rep, Lenny Mirra.
That's okay. I know you'll be right there. Thank you all for coming out tonight, especially on such a crummy night. A little misty out there, but a great job. And Linda Scott putting this together. That was a great deal for us. We got a chance to meet some great candidates. I want to say that the Mass GOP is making some really good changes. Down in Boston, that office was full of really bright, young, energetic guys like Chris Lane. We're kind of bringing the party into the 21st century. Finally, we're way behind. Democrats have always been super organized. Our team, not so much, but we're getting there. And just to show how our work is cut out for us, I want to go back to something Lonnie Brennan brought up. Out of 160 state reps, only 34 are Republicans. Out of 40 senators, only 6 are Republicans. And we don't have a single person in our Washington delegation, not a single senator, not a single United States representative. So we got a lot of work to do, and we can change that. And it starts right here at State Committee. I just want to say, I had the honor and the pleasure of getting to know every single one of these candidates. And every single one of them would make an excellent State Committee person. They really would. And we're going to need their help. So we're going to go to the polls on Tuesday. We all have our, someone in line to vote for president. That's great. Full disclosure, I'm a John Kasich guy. But regardless of who you're voting for, go down ballot, and there will be these names to vote for State Committee. One man, one woman for every state and Senate district. Very important. And regardless of who wins on Tuesday, we're going to circle the wagons, and we're going to work together, and we're going to increase our numbers. Now, presidential years are usually not that great for Republicans. That's okay, but I think, like Luke said, we're going to hold our own this time. And then come midterm in 2018, we hope to grow those numbers again. And we're going to need your help to do it. We really need to start from the ground up. Rather than spending time and money on the big races, we're kind of moving towards the grassroots end. School committee, boards of selectmen. We got some selectmen here in the room tonight. We're going to spend more time and money on those races, more state reps, more state senators. And as we do that, we'll have more candidates to move up ballot in the future. That's our long-term game plan, and I think it's a good one. So I'm going to turn it over now to a friend and colleague of mine in the House. His name is Jim Lyons. He's a state rep from Andover, but he's also a state committee person, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience there. Jim Lyons.
Thank you very much. It's great being over here in Georgetown. When I first got elected to the House, this part of Georgetown was in my district. So, and then they decided to put me on the other side of it. Newbury became part of my district. So, can I just talk about presidential politics for just a minute? So, I'm first time in my life that I really got actively involved in a presidential campaign, and I'm the chairman of the Cruz campaign in Massachusetts, and this campaign that we've seen the last, whatever it's been, 6 or 8 months, has really energized. We're breaking records everywhere. Every single state, the number of Republicans that are running for, that are voting in these primaries, you have 50% more than the last election, 30% more than the last one. That's a really good thing, that we're getting people engaged in the process. And I think will bode well for Republicans here and throughout the country. I brought a young man with me. If I'm going to have him introduced just for 1 minute. He's Rick Jocelyn. He's the state director for the Ted Cruz campaign, and he's been watching how these young folks work, and the effort and the time that they put in to their campaigns is really quite remarkable. So whoever you are voting for next Tuesday, the way I look at it, we've really created an incredible amount of energy in Massachusetts and throughout the country. So I'm one of those guys that looks at things similar to, I think it was Luke, as the glass is almost full, actually. So in Massachusetts in 2010, that's only 6 years ago, we had 11 Republicans, 11, running for re-election for the House of Representatives. 11. Today, we have 34 Republican members of the House of Representatives. That is growth by any standard when you look at the percentages in a short period of time. So having served in the House, one of the things that you really find out is that the Democrats do control the agenda. I'll never forget one day we were sitting up back and we had filed an amendment to give money back to the cities and towns, $250 million. Clearly the Democrats did not want to do that. They left the whole money on Beacon Hill. And the vote that we wanted everyone to take would be yes, which is green. So we're all sitting up back and all of a sudden, you see the Democrats are all voting green. And I'm saying to myself, I said to a couple of the Representative Lombardo was sitting beside me, he goes, I said, what am I missing here? He said, Jim, I think they think they're supposed to be voting green, but the speaker hasn't really given them the right vote yet. I said, no. He said, watch. So the board is lit up green, and all of a sudden the speaker went to red. And guess what happened? Bang, it all went to red. The Speaker of the House came in and said, you're not going to vote green, you're all going to vote red. And that's how Beacon Hill runs. That is exactly how it operates. So how do we change that? How do we change that? I have a very simple way to change that. We have to get 81 members of the House of Representatives. Because when we have 81 members of the House of Representatives, guess what? We control the agenda. So the message I want everybody out here to understand is the hard work that you people are doing in the cities and towns. Remember, there is a goal, and the goal is really simple. It's 81 before I'm 81. The younger members of the House of Representatives say on a daily basis, Jim, we are running out of time. I say, no, we're not. We have plenty of time. So I think that's the fundamental goal. We have to continue to have people involved, to have people understand that the grassroots is really how we're going to build this party. We have to continue to attract people, but then we have to have people who are going to get involved and knock on doors, as I heard earlier, make phone calls, work with the Mass GOP. This group of young people that we have at Merrimack Street, believe me, they are absolutely committed to changing the direction of this state, and on a regular basis, they're out here in the communities night after night, working with a governor who is fundamentally in tune with the long-term approach of what we're trying to do in Massachusetts, which is to build this party from the ground up. So I am also a member of the state committee, and one of the things that is become very apparent in the short time that I've been on the state committee is the commitment to the grassroots, the commitment to building our communities and building our town committees up. So the message that I have to everybody tonight is, when you come out on the night tonight and you see this crowd of people and the great candidates that we have running for state committee, that we can change the direction of this state. The progressives, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're liberal, whether you're moderate, or you're conservative. On Beacon Hill, there's progressives. And when I tell you progressive, they don't fit into any of those categories. I mean, they just want to run an agenda that overregulates us, overtaxes us, and dictates to us on a regular basis. That, I was a Democrat. I grew up in that Irish Catholic Democratic household, and in 1984, when Ronald Reagan was running for re-election, I went home, I said to my mother, I said, Mom, sit down. She said, what's the matter? You know, Bernadette and I were only married a couple of years. I said, are you treating Bernadette terrible? I said, no, Mom, she's got nothing to do with Bernadette. I said, I got to tell you something, and you're going to make me a promise. My father at the time was 71 years old, and she said, what is it, Jim? I said, I just left the Arlington Town Hall, and I registered as a Republican. She said, oh my God. I said, Mom, you have to do me a favor, though. You can never, ever tell Dad. My father died at the age of 91, and he never knew. True story. So what we have to do is we have to continue to reach out, we have to continue to build our party, and we have to encourage people to get involved, because Beacon Hill is controlled by a small group of Democrats. We have to break that up and open government up. When you talk about open and transparent government, that's what we have to do on Beacon Hill. I mean, just look at what happened last week. You've got a state senator who has the FBI and the IRS raid his office. The Senate President comes out today and says, I wish this state senator the best of luck. He made some great votes while he was in office. And the votes that he took were really, really progressive votes. And the Senate President congratulated him. So my comment to the Senate President is, he has set a new standard on Beacon Hill for what state senators can do. State senators can shake down their constituents to get free dry cleaning. State senators can shake down vendors to buy sunglasses for their colleagues. State senators can use their campaign funds to run graduation parties for their kids. And state senators can have the FBI and IRS raid their offices, but as long as you do what I tell you, I'm going to look the other way. Well, that's wrong. And that's unfair to each and every one of the people that are here tonight. So we allow that to happen. So, with the group of people that we have at the Mass GOP, and with all of the people who are running for the state committee, and with having great colleagues like Lenny Mirra, and a governor who's committed to changing Massachusetts, it is my firm belief that we are going to get to 81 before I'm 81, and we're going to change the agenda on Beacon Hill. But we need you people to help us do it. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Well, so that kind of wraps up the night. We're planning on leaving ending this around 8:30 out of respect for it's a school night, right? So I want to just remind you on your way out, Rich Baker is running for Governor's Council. He will be over at that table, and he very, very much appreciates everybody signing his papers. He needs 1,000 signatures. So let's give him a big send-off tonight with a big bunch of signatures.
Hi, my name's Ann May Martin, and I'm running for sheriff, and I happen to have papers tonight too.
Whoa! This is your
Yes, so I have papers here this evening as well. I'm running for sheriff. I'm a city councilor in the city of Peabody, and I'm also a 25-year experienced correctional professional. I work with the Department of Correction as a deputy superintendent. So,
are you registered Republican?
I am a registered Republican. Yes.
Well, then you have our own.
I have some papers for you. I'll be over. All right.
Chris?
If I could, just last thing real quick. I know the state committee elections are on Tuesday, but we also have 2 special elections on Tuesday. One in Peabody, one in Pittsburgh. That 34 that we've been talking about, we can get to 36 on Tuesday. So anyone who's willing to come out to Pittsburgh or go to Peabody, please reach out on that piece of paper that I gave you. Every door counts, every phone call counts. I will be in both places every hour of every day until then. So any help would be appreciated. Thanks.
Any other quick questions before we break up?
Just have a quick word. Dick Boucher, I live here in Georgetown, on the town committee of course. You know, you're talking about moving forward. You work hard to take the Congress back, and what have they done? They've fallen right in line with Obama 100%. Now we have a problem with a Supreme Justice to be appointed. Obama has a couple items already before the Supreme Court, and if he brings these detainees from Guantanamo into the country, that'll be a direct violation of a law that the Congress made. I don't see how in the world we can consider letting him appoint somebody to adjudicate his cases. And that's what I want you to think about. We're discouraged. We elect these people and we don't get what they promised.
We have the power of the purse right now.
And on that note, those are the types of things we'll talk about afterwards. You guys are more than welcome to stick around and have some social time, but this meeting is officially adjourned. Hope to see you again.